Did you know that anyone and everyone can easily call themselves a musician today? If you sing a song, or strum a chord, you're making music and therefore technically you are a musician. But I'm not talking to those people, I'm talking to you. You, the real musician. Or at least someone who aspires to be a musician. Okay, but what's a real musician? There isn't such a technical term in existence, but who I'm referring to is simply the ideal musician that you want to be. Yes, it's about carving your personal identity as a musician. In order to carve out this identity, you need to consider two main factors: what music you make and who you are making the music for. So the first one, what music do you make? First, you need to think about the style of music you want to create. Is it jazz, rock, pop, classical, flamenco, Carnatic, for example? Well, of course you don't need to stick to one permanently and you can learn multiple styles, but you need to narrow down your focus. If you want to play everything, then you don't really have a unique identity as a musician. Depending on which style you choose, it will inform whether the music you make is largely composed or interpreted by you. Note that when you play music composed by someone else, you still play a huge role in interpreting that piece of music with your personal identity as a musician. Now, in the realm of classical music or jazz, for example, you're a lot more likely to play other people's work such as sonatas and jazz standards. On the other hand, a rock musician will likely compose music from their own personal experiences, for that is the nature of rock music. Now, these are norms, of course, and you can go against the norm, but you need to realize that these norms also inform what your audiences want to hear. There are certain audience expectations of a jazz musician, a classical one, a rock one, a flamenco one, and you need to be keenly aware of them as you carve out your musician identity. Now, let's talk about who your audiences are. Broadly, you could define your audience, say, as a jazz community or a fingerstyle guitar one. But I want you to be a lot more specific and think, who are these individual people you will be performing to? Is it a classical music aficionado who is well-versed in music history and performance practice? Is it a jazz enthusiast who can name every single jazz standard in existence? Or is it a casual listener who enjoys singing along to music in the shower? Is it a close friend who adores the personal and poetic lyricism in your music? Now, each of these audiences will inform the type of music you play. If you're playing to a classical music aficionado, you need to play what is expected of excellent performers in that genre. You will be interpreting masterworks by accomplished performers, most of whom are no longer living. And if you're playing to casual listeners, perhaps you can be more fluid in writing your own music and playing popular pieces, alright? But you must make your music accessible to the lay listener. It must be easy to appreciate, so catchy melodies and groovy rhythms fall into this category. But now we need to ask, are you comfortable with your musical identity, your musician identity, who you are as a musician? Alright, ask yourself, is the musician you envision yourself as something that you are comfortable with? Because that's going to be your musician identity. Are you okay, for example, to play other people's compositions and interpret them creatively to discerning listeners? Or are you okay to write original music with the caveat that you may have to tailor your music to suit the artistic preferences of your audiences? Are you okay to push the boundaries of jazz music, compose new music with innovative percussive elements on the acoustic guitar, accepting the reality that it may take a long while for audiences to recognize and appreciate your music? Now, if you're not okay with any of these things or more, you need to rethink your identity so that you avoid working on your musicianship journey toward a goal that you aren't even comfortable with. Now with that, I'd like to share my personal ideal musician identity. I want to blend Carnatic, jazz, flamenco music on fingerstyle guitar, using music to share stories and express emotions across cultures. I want to perform this music to audiences interested to learn about cultures other than their own, willing to open up their ears to appreciate new sounds and cultures. And as a result of understanding these new cultures, they are opening up their minds to new perspectives and lifestyles and connecting to people who they may not otherwise be able to connect with. So, I've shared mine. I want you to share yours now. What is your musician identity? Let me know in the comments below and let's share our musical journeys with one another. Alright, so until next time, I will see you again. Goodbye.